May I please have announcements and we're here on a motion to modify. May I please have announcements first by the movement and then the respondent?
Yes, Adelina Sanchez present for the petitioner, David Aceves.
Okay. Thank you, Ms. Sanchez. Okay, who's here on behalf of respondent?
I'm representing myself, Maria
All
Naranjo.
right. All right. Thank you, Ms. Naranjo. Welcome. We're happy to have you here. Okay, and then we have also, it looks like we have Ms. Gonzalez Taylor here for the AG's office.
Yes, Your Honor. And then we also have a new attorney. He's observing, Mr. Cassian Shuker.
All right, welcome, Mr. Cassian Shuker. We're happy to have you here today, and always happy to have you in our Zoom courtroom. If you need to come down to the district courts and bring your friends and try out the new equipment, you can do that. We certainly have a lot of good equipment here in the courtroom to help you get your exhibits on. So welcome to the AG's office. All right. With that, I think Ms. Do you go by Gonzalez Taylor or Taylor?
I go by Gonzalez Taylor.
All right, Ms. Gonzalez Taylor. I thought I'd heard that you wanted to start first here. Is that right?
Well, Your Honor, I believe we have an agreement on the the issue before the court on the Attorney General's, which is just a judgment of the cash medical support that's been previously ordered.
Cash medical support? Okay. All right, very good. And what is that? Tell me what that agreement is.
Yes, Your Honor, the parties have agreed that there will be a judgment as of August 31st. No, I'm sorry, Your Honor, as of yesterday.
September the 14th?
Yes, as of September the 14th. In the amount of $45.38. And Mr. Aceves has agreed to pay that in full on or before November 1st of 2023.
Okay.
And then I believe the parties are also in agreement that Mr. Aceves is now providing both medical and dental through his employer. So we will order that. And then if there's any future there's currently no child support being ordered for either party, Judge. So that is something the court will have to address today. But my understanding is that primary is contested, but they may have an agreement between themselves on that. But the only thing the state's asking for is just the judgment. And if the court does order child support, then we were asking that Ms. Sanchez provide us a copy of the final order so we can sign off on that.
All right, very good. So
and one more thing, Judge, before I forget. We did provide a copy of the pay record to the parties. We didn't submit it to the court, but I will ask that be attached as an exhibit to the actual order.
Right, very good. So here's the situation. I just want to ask first, starting with Ms. Sanchez. We've just heard the representations of agreement given to us by Assistant Attorney General Ms. Gonzalez Taylor. Do you agree with what she just said, Ms. Sanchez?
Yes, I agree.
Okay, Ms. Naranjo, you've just heard the assertions by AAG Gonzalez Taylor. Do you agree with what she said?
Yes.
All right, very good. So here's what I'm going to ask you to do, whoever ends up drafting the order, and I suspect that will be you, Ms. Sanchez. If you would please include that information in there, including the attachment or the exhibit that Ms. Gonzalez Taylor had requested. And when it's prepared, I know we've got some other things to put in the order that we still have to talk about, but when it's prepared, I want to make sure that that's sent to her so that she can sign off on it, and also sent to Mr. Naranjo so she can review it as well. Okay. Now, Ms. Naranjo, here's the situation with the orders. I don't know what's going to happen today. You may win today or you may not win today. We'd like to have parties just sign off onto the form of the order, not to the substance of it, and we'll give you an opportunity to do that. But, you know, probably like what I'm going to ask Ms. Sanchez to do, since she's drafting the order, is 24 hours after she sends it to you. If you don't agree as to form, whatever the order says, then it's going to be okay. But Ms. Sanchez, I do want her to have 24 hours to review it. Okay. And Ms. Gonzalez Taylor, of course, the same thing, but I suspect because you all have an agreement there, that's not going to be a problem. Okay. All right. So there we are. So Ms. Gonzalez Taylor, do we get the continued pleasure of you and Mr. Shuker attending this hearing, or are you all going to be leaving us?
Well, Judge, I would ask to be excused, but since Mr. Shuker is new in our office, would the court be opposed if you wanted to remain just to observe a hearing?
Of course not. In fact, any of you all are always welcome to attend and watch. And if you want to come down and watch in person, you can do that too. So yeah, we'd be honored to have him here. Okay. All right.
So I will, Judge, if I could, Judge, I will send the wording for the judgment to Ms. Sanchez.
That sounds good. I want her to have exactly what you just said because everyone's okay with it. And then once she gets it into the order, she'll send it to you at Ms. Naranjo, and you'll have 24 hours to review it, sign off on it. I will be looking for your signature, Ms. Gonzalez Taylor. And I hope Ms. Naranjo signs it, but if she doesn't, then we're just going to go and approve it after 24 hours. If somebody doesn't like it, thinks that it's wrong, be sure to email, don't call, email Ms. Sanchez back and say, I don't like this, the form of this order, and here's why. And then she'll look at that. Okay.
Thank you, Judge. If Ms. Sanchez will just update me with the court's ruling once you obtain that. So, Judge, may I be excused?
Yes, you may.
And then I'll leave that. If Mr. Shuker pops off, then that may be that he has something else to do. But if not, he may just remain.
All right. Sounds good. Thank you. Have a great
Thank you,
rest of the
Judge.
day.
Y'all have a good day.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Okay, Ms. Sanchez, I think we've got at least part of the issues taken care of today, but I think you all still have a motion to modify that you want to talk to me about and get a ruling on. Is that right?
Yes, Your Honor. And the parties do have other stipulations.
Good.
If I may read those as well into the
Yeah.
record.
That's super helpful. Mm-hmm.
So the parties, from my understanding, agreed to continue to be named as joint managing conservators.
Okay.
They agreed to continue to make joint decisions the way that the order currently reads.
Okay.
They're in agreement that whomever is primary, the other parent would have a standard possession schedule.
Okay.
And as Ms. Taylor indicated, the present order from 2012 does not order either of them to pay child support.
Mhm.
And that's something that they're not requesting to change, but
Okay.
of course it's up to the court. And I believe that those are the agreements.
Okay, very good. So let me ask you, Ms. Naranjo, you've just heard the agreements as they were read. Do you agree that those stipulations are something you and Mr. Aceves have agreed to?
Yes.
All right. Okay, very good. I might ask a few more questions about child support here in a little bit, but I'm going to let you all get into some of your questioning, and then I'll see if it seems appropriate or not. Okay, Ms. Sanchez?
Yes.
All right, very good. Okay, so those things have been stipulated too. So what is it that you all are really needing me to make a decision on today?
Yes, Your Honor. So it's where the main issue is who's the parent who will determine the primary residence of this child. And so subsequently, who will have the exclusive right to enroll him in school.
Okay.
And so I'm not sure if this issue is contested, but at the temporary orders, Judge Layata expanded the geographic restriction. This case is being transferred from Bexar County, and so he expanded it to Bexar and Travis. But I guess I didn't touch base to see if that's a disputed issue. But since it was rendered at temporary, I would ask that continue going forward.
Let me
And
ask you
so-
in terms of Bear and Travis, are we talking, let me see, you'll see how much I drive back and forth between these two. Are we talking Travis, Hayes, what is next to it? Comal, Bear, there might be, Guadalupe might be in there somewhere, or all those I-35 corridor counties, or is it just Travis and Bear?
Judge Layata just said Travis and Bexar.
Okay, that's fine. I just wanted to make sure I understood. Okay.
And then the final issue is just where the parties will exchange their child.
I gotcha. Okay. Do they have any ideas on some, I mean, it does, look, you're talking to someone who's driven that. I'm from San Antonio. I've driven that I-35 corridor so many times, and I've had to do exchanges, elderly parents and all kinds of things out there. So they might have some ideas. Have they talked about it, Ms. Sanchez? Do you know?
Yes. So, I mean, this order has been pending for a while, but it's where the majority of the time since Mr. Aceves moved here in 2019.
Where is here? Are you in Travis?
Oh, Travis, sorry,
Okay.
in Travis County. It's where they would take turns like picking up from each other's homes.
Uh-huh.
And then when conflict began between the parties, they were starting to pick up at the Buc-ee's in between the two
Oh yeah, I know
cities.
Buc-ee's out there. Uh-huh.
And so the temporary orders has Buc-ee's as the pickup exchange location, but my client believes that maybe picking up from each other's homes may be an easier transition, but I can let him testify as to his
Okay,
reasoning.
we'll hear more from him on that. Okay, all right. So, Ms. Naranjo, you've heard Ms. Sanchez, the attorney for Mr. Aceves, give a little brief opening statement. If you want to, you can give a brief opening statement, or in a little while, I'm going to ask you kind of what you think the case is about, but you're not under oath yet. So is there anything just generally you want me to listen for? Because I will give you some more time to testify a little bit later in this hearing.
She's pretty much right. We're trying to decide, we can't agree on where my son's primary residence will be.
Okay.
I do want to just clarify that there was never a written agreement as to where his primary residence would be. We kind of just steered away from the 2012 order. So we kind of been pretty much on the same page. Since Dad and my son moved to Austin, we'd always meet at the Buc-ee's. It wasn't until we started the process of this whole issue to where I would drive to Austin and pick him up from school. And then Dad would either have someone, since Dad has family over here, drive Josiah back to Austin, or sometimes Dad would pick him up. So I know that he's recently had a change of heart of where we would be meeting. I do have a daughter, so I would prefer to still meet halfway because
it's easier. I hear you.
So yes, that is pretty much it. We're just trying to figure out his primary residence at this point.
Okay. All right. That's very helpful, Ms. Naranjo. Thank you for that. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to let Ms. Sanchez, she's given us her views on the case. I'm going to let her call a witness or two, whoever she wants to call. And then in a few minutes, I'll ask you to, tell me what you think I need to know about the case, Ms. Naranjo, to make a good decision. So you'll have your chance in just a minute too. Okay.
Awesome. Thank you.
All right. So Ms. Sanchez, are you ready to call your first witness?
Yes, I call Ms. Naranjo. Ms. Naranjo, you're can you please tell the court how many children you have and their names and age, or I guess not the names, but just the ages?
I have a almost 12-year-old son. He'll be 12 not this Sunday, but the following. And then my daughter will be 9 on the 30th.
Okay. And then you have J.A., right? Is he in addition to that, or is he the 12-year-old?
He's going to be the 12-year-old.
Oh, okay. Gotcha. Okay. So you've got the two. You've got J.A., who's going to be 12, and the 9-year-old. Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay. And at this time, where do you currently live?
You want my address?
Or I guess, what city do you live in?
I live in San Antonio.
And you and Mr. Aceves obtained the custody order for your son when he was like a couple months old in Bexar County?
Correct.
Okay. And so at that time, neither one of you was determined to be the parent who determines your son's primary residence, correct?
Correct.
Okay. And so at that time, the schedule was that he was going to spend 2 days out of the week with you, 2 days with him, and you guys would alternate the weekends.
Correct.
Okay. But the two of you never really exercised that type of schedule?
No, we did do that schedule. So David and I had always had a really great relationship, and we figured out what worked for us at that present time.
Okay. So, and whenever the order was initially entered in 2012, he was still living in San Antonio, correct?
Correct.
Okay. And so when the two of you did live in San Antonio, did you live in close proximity to each other?
We lived about 15 to 20 minutes away from each other.
Okay. And when your son was living in San Antonio, he attended school at Nichols Elementary?
Correct.
Okay. And Mr. Aceves enrolled him in that school?
Yes, it was the best school in the area of where he decided to buy a home at.
Okay. And so you previously had an attorney that was helping you in this case?
Yes.
Okay. And so at the time you filed an affidavit and submitted it to the court.
Yes.
Okay. And so, and Your Honor, it's attached as an exhibit A to the counter petition.
Okay.
So I would just ask that I'm not sure, I would move to enter P7, or I can ask that the court take judicial notice of the affidavit that's already part of the file.
Okay, here's an affidavit of Maria Naranjo. Is that what you want me to look at?
Yes, Your Honor, and I can share my screen with her.
That would be really helpful. Because I'm looking at it on Smart Bench, but I did find it. And I will, it kind of depends. If you want to reintroduce it as an exhibit at this hearing, I'm fine with you doing that rather than me taking judicial notice, but I do have it here, okay?
Okay, then I do move to enter P7 into evidence.
Okay. Ms. Naranjo, is this your affidavit that you're seeing here?
Yes.
Okay. Let's go to the bottom. Is that your signature there?
Yes.
Does this appear to be a true and correct copy of the affidavit that you signed on September 23rd, 2023?
Yes.
All right. And what is the number of this, Ms. Sanchez?
It's in the box as P7.
All right. P7 is admitted. You may proceed, Ms. Sanchez.
Where it states, I allowed our son to live with his father, David Andre Aceves, in Austin, Texas in 2020. Knowing our orders restricted Jay's residence to Bexar County, I agreed to let him go to Austin because Jay wanted to see what it was like, and I did not want to stop our son from having new experiences. Did I read that correctly?
Yes.
Okay. And so, in your words, I mean, you and Mr. Aceves discussed your son moving to Austin with him, correct?
Mm-hmm.
Is that a yes? It's just for the court reporter.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. Okay. Thank you.
Okay. And then subsequently, when school started in August, he started in Austin ISD, correct?
Yes.
Okay. And so, Mr. Aceves enrolled him in that school.
Yes.
Okay. And so, and so he's not, your son is currently not in that school at this time, correct?
Correct.
Okay. He was subsequently moved to Blazer Elementary.
Yes.
Okay. And so after your son and his dad moved to Austin, how far apart were you guys? Like, how long would it take to get to each other's homes?
We wouldn't go to each other's homes. We would meet at the Buc-ee's. So from my house, I think David mapped it out, the halfway point from my house to his house. And it was about 45 minutes to maybe 55 minutes to the Buc-ee's. That was like the fair halfway point.
Okay. And did you ever, have you ever picked him up elementary school?
Not that I remember. I mean, Josiah's in 6th grade now. So maybe a handful of times that I picked him up when I went to Austin for the day or something, but not often.
And so whenever he was enrolled in Mills, do you recall what grade he was in?
He started 2nd grade over there.
Okay. And so it's been about a little bit over 4 years since Josiah has lived in Austin, correct? Okay. And even though the order did not include Travis County, I mean, you were aware and you agreed for him to move to Austin at that time.
I was aware and I agreed for Josiah to be in Austin for as long as Josiah wanted to, until he expressed that he wanted to come to school in San Antonio.
Okay, but at that time you allowed it, correct? Yeah. In or when he was in 2nd grade. Okay, and so I mean, from the last hearing, I mean, the two of you both said that, I mean, your son is an extremely intelligent child and pretty likable in school. I mean, you would agree with that?
Yes.
Okay. And so it's where for the most part, I mean, he excels at all his like tests, all his standardized tests.
Yes.
Okay. And I'm going to show you what has been marked as P5. And Your Honor, this is an excerpt from the business records that
Okay.
were that you previously mentioned. And so I would move to enter P5 just because we do have that business records affidavit that was submitted.
Okay. Are these, Ms. Naranjo, are these some standardized tests pertaining to your son? Is that what these are?
Yes, I guess they just want to show that he is thriving and doing very well in Austin.
And they're from, is that here in Austin?
Yes.
Right. Very good. P5 is admitted. You may proceed, Ms. Sanchez.
Yes, thank you. So yes, when we discussed at the last hearing that, I mean, for this subject for reading, he got a high master's level. He also received the same for the math subject.
Yes.
Okay. And then for the following year, 2021 through 2022, it was the same thing for those subjects again.
Yes.
Do you see that?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Okay. And so your son just started school. Again, what grade is he in?
He's in 6th grade.
Okay. And so in the past, I mean, he was involved in soccer.
Josiah was involved in like soccer camps. He wasn't in like a soccer league.
Okay. And so for this past summer, he spent some time with you in San Antonio?
Yes.
Okay. Was he enrolled in any soccer camps when he was in your under your care?
No, he was not.
Okay. He did stay at your home. Do you are you renting at this time?
Yes, I am.
Okay. How many bedrooms is your residence?
3 bedrooms.
Okay. And who lives with you?
It's my boyfriend and I, my daughter, my son when he's here, and then my boyfriend has his daughter here on alternate weekends.
Okay. And so whenever Josiah goes to stay with you, where does he sleep?
He has his own room.
Okay. And how long have you been in a relationship with your boyfriend?
He just moved in January. We were dating a year before that. So
Okay.
Wow.
And he's met Josiah before.
Yes.
Okay. And I mean, if the judge were to allow him to move to San Antonio, would you wait until the semester is over before transferring him?
Are you asking if I would want to wait or I'm not understanding your question.
Yes, I mean, I guess if the judge were to allow him to move back to San Antonio, I mean, would you believe it's in his best interest not to interrupt the semester?
I would wait until the semester and then would want him to come here.
Okay. And do you have any idea what school he would attend in San Antonio?
Which isn't within the district of my home. Initially, I wanted him to start school. Since we did start this process almost a year and 2 months ago, I didn't realize that it was going to take this long. So initially, I wanted him to start school with his sister because, you know, that's what was one of the things that Josiah did express that he wanted to.
And I would object, just if you cannot, when you testify, if you can't say what your son is saying.
Okay.
So I would object as to hearsay.
The objection is sustained. Ms. Ronho, you're doing extremely well, but it's a little difficult, but please not to offer what other people said. Thank you. And please proceed, Ms. Sanchez.
And so right now, your daughter doesn't attend that school that you're proposing. She attends a different school?
Yes, I did put her in a different school.
Okay. And she is still in elementary school?
Yes.
Okay. And have you compared the middle school against like just your son's like current school?
No, I have not.
Okay. And so you don't know if like the school ratings are better or not.
No.
Okay. And so, I mean, you understand that, I mean, he's made friends and these last 4 years, and he's familiar with some of his classmates.
Yes.
Okay. And are you currently working at this time?
Yes.
Okay. What do you do for work?
I'm a hairstylist.
Okay. And is that full time, or what are your hours of employment?
Since I'm my own boss, I get to work whenever I want to. So my hours vary. It's kind of like pick and choose. I don't have set dates.
Okay. So on average, how many days would you say you work out of the week?
About 4 or 5.
Okay. And on average, I mean, do you make appointments in the morning or in the afternoon?
I make appointments primarily when my daughter is in school. So I don't work past 4:30, and my start time is usually around 8:15.
Okay. And do you rent a chair at a salon, or do you rent like a studio space?
I lease out, I guess, part of a building.
Do you have any employees, or is it just you?
I have business partners. I don't have employees.
Okay. And so on average, I mean, would you say that you work about like 30 hours a week, or?
In between, yeah, probably 30 hours, I would say, average.
Okay. And how much, I know it varies, but like an estimate, would you say that you earn between 700 a week?
Yes, it varies. So I can earn 700 a week and I can earn 400 a week. It just depends on, I guess, the season.
Okay. And so, I mean, during the summer when your son was with you, who would care for him whenever you were at work?
So whenever I was at work, it was either my mom, my sister, my cousin, my boyfriend.
Okay. And does your boyfriend normally work during the day as well, or?
He only works 4 days out of the week.
Okay. And what about your mom or your sister?
My sister was off for the summer because she works for a school district.
Okay. Does she live close by you?
She does. She lives 6 minutes away.
Okay. And so, since your son moved to Austin, I mean, would you visit with him on the first, third, and fifth weekends?
Yes, he would come to me. We'd meet at the Buc-ee's and I'd get Josiah and he'd be with us.
Okay. And even though the orders didn't reflect that, I mean, the two of you worked together to meet at the Buc-ee's.
Yes.
Okay. And so during your time, I mean, you were still able to do activities as a family with your other daughter as well?
Mm-hmm. I do have my daughter the same weekends that I have Josiah so that they're able to spend time with each other as well. So, yes.
And you were able to coordinate that with her dad?
Yes, I was.
Okay. And your son has a cell phone?
Yes, he does.
Okay. And so you're able to talk to him pretty regular on his cell phone?
Correct.
Okay. And for the most part, do you or his dad have any restrictions, or is that pretty free, like a free schedule?
Restrictions on what?
On when he can communicate like with the other parent? Like if he's with you, like do you put any, like you can only talk to your dad between this time or that time?
No.
Kind of thing. And the same thing when he's with his dad, like there's no restrictions as to the time slot. You can talk to your son.
Not that I know of, no.
Okay. And there were times where Mr. Acevedo's dad would pick him up from your residence in San Antonio?
Yes.
Okay. And from your knowledge, I mean, his dad lives in San Antonio.
Yes, he does.
Does he live pretty close to you?
He lives about 15 minutes away.
Okay. And there was times where he would pick him up from your home and drive him to Austin.
Yes. Or I'd drop him off at another relative's house and grandpa would be there to take him to Austin.
Mm-hmm. Okay. And then the same thing, like for holidays, like Mr. Aceves would visit his family in San Antonio and the two of you would be cordial and exchanging during holiday time?
Yes.
Okay. And how do you and Mr. Aceves normally communicate?
Through text message now.
Okay. And before that?
We would talk on the phone or through text message, but now it's just strictly text message.
Okay. Do you think that the two of you can still cooperate and make decisions together about your son?
Yes, I do believe that we both have the same goal and it's what's best for Josiah. So yes.
And Mr. Aceves has since remarried or has married?
Yes.
Okay. And you've met his wife?
Yes.
In the past, I mean, you and him and his wife went on a trip to Disney?
I planned a trip to Disney and invited them to come for our son's birthday. And that was 2 years ago in September.
Okay. And I mean, during this time, would the two of you cooperate in paying for your son's needs, like school supplies, things like that?
Yes.
Okay. And so do you guys normally split those costs like 50-50 or how does that work?
Normally, I mean, I guess we kind of just talk about it and figure it out. Recently, it's just been whatever I have for Josiah here. He's free to take it. I never not allow him to take whatever I purchase for him because it's for him. But we haven't really split anything recently.
Okay. Do you think that if the court were not to order someone to pay child support, do you think that the two of you can continue to split costs for your son? Okay. And you previously had applied for your son to have Medicaid?
Josiah's had Medicaid since he was a baby. So he's never, I haven't recently applied for Medicaid. He's just always been on it.
Okay. Has it expired or when do you normally apply?
You have to renew it, but since COVID, it's just automatically been reviewed.
Renewed?
Right.
Okay. And so you understand that now Mr. Aceves has provided, has obtained health insurance?
I just found that out today. Yes.
Okay. And so if the court were to allow Josiah to continue to live in Austin, you would request that you have a standard possession schedule, which is the first, third, and fifth weekend and incorporate holiday time and things like that?
Yes.
I pass the witness.
All right, very good. Okay, so Ms. Naranjo, since you don't have an attorney, I'm just going to ask you, what is it that you think I need to know to decide this case?
So I just want you to know that I feel like we've had a few court cases and it was kind of mom relinquished child and that's what it is. It is not that like that. Dad and I have always had a mutual agreement. We figured it out. I mean, it hasn't been the easiest. It took a while for us to figure out how to work with each other. Dad expressed he wanted to move to Austin and we were kind of like, well, what's going to happen with Josiah? We've always let Josiah make decisions and follow through with the choices he made. And, he was happy over there. And I'm not saying that he's not happy over there now.
I was going to ask you about that. Is he doing okay? Look, his scores look real good. Is he doing okay in Austin?
I think he's doing good. However, back in May, not this past May of 2022, he expressed, he wanted to come over here. I do have a daughter. They're really close when they're both here with me. He expressed, it would be cool to come to school over here. Both sides of our family are over here in San Antonio. And I know from my understanding right now, it's just dad and his wife that are over there in Austin. So I do wish for his primary residence to be in Bexar County, because he does have both sides of the family over here. He has his sibling, which is my daughter, over here. I feel like he would still thrive over here. I understand that his scores are really well, but Josiah is very intelligent. He's very smart for his age. And dad is a great dad. But I think at the time when we did the 2012 order, we were both really young, and I was just kind of like, okay, well, we're going to agree to what we agreed to. And it's always worked out up until the move to Austin.
Okay. That's helpful to know. You're just saying, hey, look, Judge, he's got both sides of his family in San Antonio. He's got his little sister there. That'd be cool for them to be together. And he's a smart young man, very intelligent. And you're telling me that, he's going to thrive no matter where. Did I summarize what you said correctly?
Yeah, he's gonna thrive no matter where. Had I known a few years ago that this is where we'd be at, then I would have never agreed to let Josiah explore Austin. And I think dad would have had not moved over there. But we're here now.
Yeah. All right, Ms. Naranjo, thank you very much. Okay, so Ms. Sanchez, call your next witness.
Yes, I call Mr. Aceves. You are currently married?
Correct.
How long have you been married?
Since January 22nd of this year.
Okay. And prior to your marriage, how long were you in a relationship?
January of 2019.
Okay.
Officially, and we were about 3 months before then.
Okay. So did the two of you meet in San Antonio?
Yeah, we met in San Antonio.
Okay. And so, she's cohabitated and she gets along well with your son?
Yeah, they get along great.
Okay. And aside from the two of you, who else lives with you?
So it's my nephew. His name is Mateo. He's 18 and he's attending UT. And it's also one of Josiah's, if not Josiah's closest cousin. And occasionally Grandpa will be here. Grandpa's retired, so he'll be here. About, I would say 40% of the time, but we're hoping that he'll be here a little bit more, just to help him out with eating healthy and exercising and stuff like that. Oh, and
sorry, what was that?
And my wife. I don't know if I think that's implied, but
yes. And when did Mateo move in with you?
He moved in May, so started school before our last. Well, actually, right after our last hearing.
Okay. So I guess your now wife.
No, I'm sorry, that's incorrect. It was right before school started, so August, so about a month ago. Yeah, it was right before school started, so mid-August.
Okay. And you said that your now wife met Josiah like in 2019, so that's when he was about 5 years old.
Yeah, well, no, he's 11 now, so 2019 and 4 years ago, so he would have been 7 when we originally got into a relationship. But prior to that, her and I were really good friends for about a year and a half, and so I brought her around for like barbecues in a friend capacity for a long time.
Okay. And so in the previous order, that order was done when your son was only a couple of months old.
Correct.
Okay. And so since then, that visitation schedule was no longer workable once you moved to Austin.
Correct. It started to become a little challenging when I was in San Antonio. only because at that time, I think the mom was separating from her daughter's dad. And so, she was going through a difficult time. And so, I would pick them up a little bit, more than that 223. It would be more frequent than that.
Okay. And so, when the two of you did live in San Antonio, would you guys take turns dropping them off and picking them up from school, or could you describe how that arrangement was?
Yeah, so I have a timeline that I kind of sketched out. So in May 2015, I bought my first home. And that was, really, it was a 1,200 square foot, 3-bedroom, 2-bath house. And I specifically chose that location because of the school that was nearby. I want to say that it was a 9 out of 10, or maybe it was a 7 out of 10. And ratings are really important to me, just because the school that Maria and I grew up in, a lot of the peers were, having babies right before they graduated. So it's like kids having kids. And so I've kind of learned that from my upbringing that, who you're around matters. And so that was really important to me, choosing a great school for Josiah. So I bought that house and enrolled him in, and then I would drop him off and pick him up from school. I want to say most of the time, if not all the time. There might have been some periodic times where maybe she would get off of work early, but to my recollection, I was dropping him off and picking him up.
Okay. And so, you were in close proximity to the school.
Yeah, the school was about, maybe 0.7 of a mile, is less than a mile away.
Okay. And when the two of you lived in the same city, would Miss Naranjo ask you to take care of your son during her designated weekends?
Definitely.
Okay. And so fast forward to 2019, did you approach her about wanting to move to Austin?
I did, yeah.
Okay. And so how did that discussion go?
So I had I sell homes. I'm in real estate. So I was in San Antonio and I had a home to sell in Cedar Park, which is way north of Austin. So I was making that commute, but it was worth it because the price tag was really good. And so I had some business to do here, and kind of saw that I was here every other weekend anyway, and really enjoyed the city, and just really enjoyed the city. So I said, hey, Josiah and I and La are thinking about moving to Austin. We'd really love to have him, but of course it's a mutual decision, and I never want to take any child away from his mother. So I asked her, hey, is this okay? And she was like, yeah, well, whatever he wants, right? If she's like, a little hesitant, but whatever he wants. And she talked to him, and I guess we were on good terms then, like amicable, right? It was still kind of, I guess, at any moment we could have a disagreement. It could be volatile, but she asked him, and I guess he said that he wanted to come over, and so she said, yeah, he can start school there, and then he did. She showed up for his first day of school, and he had a great time in school, and we chose that location because that school was a 9 out of 10. It was the only apartment that was Southwest Austin that was in that school district, so we specifically chose that apartment. So and she allowed him to come.
And so initially, you enrolled him at Mills Elementary School?
Yeah, that's right. And that was in 2022? No. Well, we moved to Austin 2019. So yeah, that was Mills until 2022. So about, the 3 years or 2.5 years he was in Mills.
Okay. But what's the name of the school that he currently attends?
Intermediate.
Okay. And so why did you decide to switch from schools?
So we bought a house, southeast Austin, and his school is Southwest Austin. And because I really like that school a lot, I decided to continue to drive him to that school, but it was about 20-25 minutes, each way in the morning and in the evening. And so, it was just getting to be too much, but it was a little easier because we enrolled him into a soccer program that was after school, and they would pick him up from Southwest Austin and bring him to South Central Austin. So that was a little bit easier. But ultimately just decided, he needs to be a little bit closer to home. And now we're about 10 to 15 minutes away from his school, which actually isn't the designated school, but because schools are important to me, we requested a transfer that has a better rating ultimately.
Okay. And when you transferred him, you discussed that with his mom, with Ms. Naranjo?
Mhm.
Okay. And so you always ensured that Ms. Naranjo was listed as an emergency contact at the school?
Correct.
Okay. And so right now, what is the typical routine? Like, do you normally drop your son off at school or pick him up, or what's that arrangement?
Yeah. So my wife and I, we're married, so she's, we're a team, and so she'll drop him off one day, and if she drops him off, I'll pick him up, and so we'll kind of alternate. So as of recently, because she decided to take a little bit of a, to help with that duty, she's dropping off Monday, Wednesday, Friday, and I pick up Monday, Wednesday, Friday, and then she, alternate Tuesday, Thursday. That's how the school schedule is typically. And then after school, is that something you'd like me to get into also?
Oh, well, I mean, you said that you guys do have a schedule. And so for the most part, your son knows that someone's going to pick him up.
Without a doubt.
And so right now, is he in any extracurricular activities?
No, he's not now, only because he recently decided to stop going to jiu-jitsu. He was doing that start of last year and stopped maybe 3 to 4 months ago. So he was there for almost a year, I would say 10 months. And he's just, I guess, he gave it a shot. Wasn't his passion. Don't want to force him to do anything he's not passionate about. So he decided, that wasn't for him. The next step was to put him into a soccer school, which, we've kind of done that because he really enjoys soccer. So we've, my wife and I have kind of found a school and, got him enrolled, but it's really expensive. So that's something that I don't know if we'll do it this year. But it was something that we're going to probably look at, but didn't work out.
So would it be a private school that you're looking into?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's a private school. It's called Academy.
Oh, what? I just missed it. Say it again. Okay, got it. Thank you.
And have you discussed that with Ms. Naranjo?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I discussed it with her when our previous hearing was. He had been approved. They had opened up a slot for him, and I said, "Hey, we're really thinking about doing this. Is this something that he can do?" And she said, "Well, let's wait until we determine if he's in Austin or if he's in San Antonio."
Okay. And would you, regarding tuition and fees and things like that, who are you proposing to pay for that?
That's a good question, because before, when we were both kids, I would ask her for half of whatever extracurricular activity that I found. One of them was like in his early years, it was a bilingual school, and at that time it was $800 a month, and that it was a Spanish immersion school, and so we split that 50-50. That was $400, and I think that got too much for one of us. I can't remember. And then I enrolled him in Kumon, which is a math and reading program, because I wanted to sharpen his math skills, and that was off of Helotus. And I can't remember if she contributed to that. I think she started contributing to it, but then at some months she wasn't. She kind of fell off of contributing to it. But as of recently, like I had him in a piano lesson in Addersley when we were in San Antonio. And I didn't request any money for that, or the jiu-jitsu, I didn't request any money for that. And I mean, we both make good money, decent money, and so I haven't requested any money for the soccer zone after school program, or the piano lessons, or jiu-jitsu, or anything.
Okay. And are you requesting, if the court were to allow your son to stay in Austin, are you requesting any child support?
No, I think we've agreed, that it doesn't make any sense for, like he's doing good, we're both doing good, and so I don't need anything.
Okay. And I'm gonna show you what has been marked as P4. Do you recognize these photos?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, and what do the photos depict?
So the first one is at I believe it's at Early Child PCH, which is PCH? No, Early Childhood Start. it's just like his first day of school. And the second one is just me visiting him at lunch. I think that's at, I get these confused, Nichols in San Antonio. So bringing him Chick-fil-A. And then this one is just like a Christmas photo that we took in Austin here, with our pups. That's from when we went with my brother and my nieces to Port Aransas and kind of just rented some kayaks and had fun.
And after reviewing these photos, they haven't been altered in any way.
No.
Your Honor, I move to enter P4.
Any objection?
No.
They are admitted.
And I mean, you and his mom have both agreed that, I mean, your son is a good student, and I'm going to show you what has been marked as P3. Your Honor, this is also an excerpt from the business records. So it's the 2021 and 2022 school year. So I do move to enter P3. We did submit the business records affidavit.
All right. Any objections to P3?
No.
It's admitted.
So, Mr. Aceves, it says that student strengths: Josiah is an incredible student with a large imagination. He enjoys creative writing and is working on his novel. He does well in all academic areas. So did I read that correctly?
Yes.
Okay. It also states that, I mean, he does struggle with his handwriting, but as his strengths, Josiah makes friends easily and is very charismatic. He is definitely a leader in classroom, and he needs to continue to work on how to be a positive influence on his peers. Did I read that correctly?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And so you would agree that, I mean, he does show like leadership capacity.
Yeah, without a doubt.
And so for the most part, would you agree that the two of you have exchanged at the Buc-ee's location?
Yeah, we agree. We exchanged the Buc-ee's location until last school year, when she decided that she would pick him up from school, and then I would pick him up from San Antonio. And at first I was thinking, this is just really inconvenient, but it's also only one day versus 2 days. But you know, I was just like, she's trying to make this difficult because, you know, she's trying to make it difficult. So anyways, we have been exchanging at the Buc-ee's until then. And then after that, she decided that she was going to, you know, make me pick him up from San Antonio. And so I did. And that turned out to be a lot easier, I think, for us, because Grandpa lives in San Antonio and would bring him since he's retired. And so we were like, okay, well, this actually isn't too bad. But to answer your question, before school year last year, we would meet at Buc-ee's. I think as of late, we've been meeting at Buc-ee's since the second to the last hearing.
So then how long did you guys exchange at each other's, like in each other's cities?
It would be, I would say, from May, whenever I filed, to our first hearing, you know, before there were temporary orders. I don't know when that was.
Okay. And was that May of 2022?
May of 2022, correct.
Okay. Until the summertime of this year.
That's right.
Mm-hmm. Okay. And so are you requesting, where are you requesting that the two of you exchange your son?
I mean, you know, I talked to her. She said she doesn't want to do that. What's really more important to me, I think, is just choosing where he goes to school.
Where do you want to exchange him? I mean, I thought you all were saying Buc-ee's, and now I'm thinking you're not saying Buc-ee's. Just tell me what you want to do. I mean, if y'all don't have to follow the court order, obviously, but if we need a court order to make that decision, I do need to know what you're thinking.
Yeah, no, that's a good question. So I would prefer how she initially changed it up to where she would pick him up from school here on Friday, and then I would pick him up on Sunday. Mm-hmm. And then the reason for that is if we decide different, I think she would be agreeable to that if we decide differently. But I think we need to have something ultimately in writing, which is why we're here today.
Sorry, Ms.
And
Sanchez,
so-
I didn't interrupt. I was just trying to figure that one out. Go ahead. I apologize.
So, I mean, you heard her testify that she does have another daughter, and if she can't pick up your son from school, you would propose that it be at what time?
I mean, that's a good question, because after on Friday, I think we would meet around 6 o'clock. It's right, like peak traffic time. So I don't really know. Maybe 6:30, maybe 7. But also, I want her to have them sooner, you know, and then that also disrupts dinner time. So, I mean, that's something that I can be agreeable on, and then we can have something in stone, and then we can agree outside of that, I think.
Okay. And so, normally, I mean, how do you and Ms. Naranjo communicate? Like, if there's something that comes up with your son?
Right now, it's just via text message.
Okay. And so I want to bring your attention to when you initially filed for this modification. What prompted you to file?
I had been pushing it off for a really long time because ultimately I don't want to spend the money, and I know that she doesn't want to spend the money, and I don't want to spend the time, and she doesn't want to spend the time. So I figured, you know, it would be better if we could just agree. And so I've been just kind of bending, you know, to her requests. If she wanted to change up weekends, I would say, let's, you know, do it. I just want to avoid the courtroom at all costs. We both don't want to spend the money. And I think what really prompted it was, you know, ultimately, you know, she said that I don't care how well he reads or how good his manners are or how smart he is or how he's doing in school. I want him back in San Antonio. And I shared with her that, you know, when he moved to Austin, it was an agreeable decision where both parents mutually agreed. And if it wasn't a mutually agreeable decision, I wouldn't have forced my way. And so if both parents can agree to move him out of San Antonio, then both parents need to agree to move him out of Austin, right? So if there's a reason that I want him to be here in Austin, and it's because I legitimately believe that that's in his best interests as far as just, you know, development. I mean, he's been here for the last 4 years and he's thriving. And there have been some, you know, some concerns that I wasn't happy with that I addressed with her and had the hard conversation, you know. So, but that's ultimately why I decided to take action, because she was sort of forcing my hand and was going to pull him out of school without us having an agreement.
And so for the most part, when the two of you have these discussions about your son, do you normally conduct them outside of his hearing?
I mean, it's just, you know, right now, it's just factual. You know, I'll meet you here, or, you know, I know that she has she's taking them to Disney again this year, the 28th. So, you know, all right, like just remind me what days it is. She'll take him out of school a couple of days on Friday and a couple of days or Friday and Monday. It sounds like. So it's just factual, you know. We don't talk though. It's mainly text because I think she's offended that I wanted to file and get something in writing.
And so even though she threatened to take him out of school, she never did take him out of school, correct?
I think that's when we initially filed, and that sort of froze the records from her withdrawing him. So she was at the school. She showed up to the school and attempted to take him out, but they wouldn't let her withdraw him.
Okay. And so you said that you are in the real estate industry. What are your normal hours of employment?
So typically, you know, I'll work from home, make some phone calls, and I mean, I have my own schedule also, so I can create appointments around my schedule. But typically they'll be, you know, from 9 to, you know, 3, and on the days that I won't get Josiah, I'll work a little bit later, and I'll work until maybe 4:30. If I have an evening showing, you know, that's possible, and if that's the case, then my wife will be here, or she can go on the appointment, and we can alternate that way.
Okay. And so, I mean, the two of you, for the last 4 years that your son has been in Austin, for the most part, we're able to work out a schedule outside of court, correct?
That's right.
Okay. And so if the judge were to allow your son to go live with his mom, I mean, do you have any safety concerns about him living there, or supervision?
So I do have safety concerns. I mean, mainly it's health. It's concern for his health, concern for who he's spending his time with, and if he's in adult supervision or not. While one account was in spring break of, I guess 6 months ago now, he was outside. Well, this is a story which I don't know. It sounds like, I don't know, but he shared that he was that he was hanging out and shooting the BB gun. I was like, oh, that's really cool. Like, what were you shooting? And he was like, oh, shooting some cans or something. And I was like, oh, cool. Who were you with? And he was like, well, I was with my sister and my, I don't remember her name, but her boyfriend's daughter. And I was like, oh, that's awesome. Like, Ryan there, were you with an adult? And he was like, no, they were inside watching TV. And like instantly I'm like, what's going on? Like, why is, like, it's totally fine for a kid to shoot a BB gun, right? As long as there's adult supervision and there's somebody's watching a kid with a gun. And so there've just been kind of and this has just been like a recurring theme of, hey, where's Josiah? Who's he with? Please just hire a babysitter. You're making good money. And yeah, there have been multiple accounts where he's been at home, and I've asked, well, who's with him? And she's like, oh, well, I'm only going to be gone for a couple of hours. But there was one instance where it must have been about 2 or 3 years ago. And so he would have been 8 and his sister would have been, I guess, 6. And their dog got out of the house, and they were home alone. And, they went looking for this dog. There's an 8-year-old and a 6-year-old off of Marbach in 1604 going looking for this dog. And she's like at work, frantic, like calling around, and she posts on Facebook about this dog that got loose. And I'm like, why are these kids unsupervised?
Okay, but this was several years ago, Mr. Aceves.
That's right.
But yeah, I don't think we really, maybe sometimes it's better, sometimes better not to dig into some of those things so much. Okay.
Yeah, I agree.
I think so too. Okay. All right, please proceed, Ms. Sanchez.
Yes. And so, I mean, I guess just generally, I mean, if something causes you concern, I mean, do you reach out to Ms. Naranjo to discuss and find a solution?
Yeah. Well, when he was going over there, I would let her know that, hey, he's got some cavities, he needs to brush his teeth, and he needs to be mindful of that. Like, I'll remind him, and I started rewarding him with like $1 a day, right, every time he brushes his teeth. But it just, like, there are certain health concerns that I have. I feel like if a child is not regularly brushing his teeth, going to bed at a decent time, and on screens for 4 to 6 to 7 hours a day, I think that those needs need to be met. And if they can't be met, then I have reason for concern over their more developmental needs, right? Like, quality time and affection and whatnot, which I know that she's really affectionate with him. He's an affectionate kid. He's a really good kid. But those are the concerns, and I've voiced them to her, and I've said, hey, this whole idea of him going to live in San Antonio would be so much easier, and I wouldn't be pushing back on it, because ultimately I'm in his best interest. If I knew that if I knew that he wasn't on screens for 7-8 hours a day, and I knew that he wasn't just being left alone to supervise kids that are younger than him, and I knew that he was, not staying up really late, then that would be great. Like, it would be just a much easier decision. But I can't, like, in good conscience say, I know what he has here. I know that he's going to bed at 9 o'clock, at 9 to 9:30 every day, and getting his hours of sleep. And I know that he's limiting his screen time, and I know that he's eating well. So I just can't in good conscience say this is a good decision in the best interest of Josiah.
All right, Ms. Sanchez, let me just tell you, I've heard enough. Okay. So
Yes.
We kind of need to maybe wrap up. I've heard enough and I've made a decision. And I think some of these things that are being said now are, in my view, they're not very well supported by evidence and they're hurting Ms. Naranjo. Okay. So
Yes, I passed the witness.
okay, thank you. All right, Ms. Naranjo, you've just heard what I said. Do you have any questions for this witness? You are entitled to ask him questions, but keep in mind, I've just said that I think that some of what he said is pretty speculative. Okay.
Got it.
All right. Okay, so here's my ruling on this, folks. I do think that Mr. Aceves can determine the child's residence and where he goes to school. It had nothing to do with that testimony about being unsupervised or whatever. It's very clear to me Ms. Naranjo cares about this child deeply. What I did focus, and that she's a very good mother. What I did focus my attention on was the fact that he's doing so well in school, that he's got friends here in Austin, and that he seems, I just feel like with a child, that's in his best interest. We know it's working, and there's no guarantee that it's going to be the same if he goes back to San Antonio. Now, I got a little confused here while I was listening to you all about where's most convenient for Ms. Naranjo to pick him up. And I don't know if that's Buc-ee's or if that's at the house, but Ms. Naranjo, where was it easier for you?
It was at Buc-ee's.
Yeah, we're going to go and have pick up at Buc-ee's. You all can definitely change that if you need to. I'm not going to order any child support. Y'all are doing okay without it. Standard possession, it looks like you were wanting a standard possession schedule, Ms. Naranjo, is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. All right. So let's go on, Ms. Sanchez. Was there any other rulings I needed to make?
I guess just confirmation that the geo restriction from temporary will become part of the final order.
Yes,
That
the
it's
geo
there in
restrictions.
Travis.
Travis. And obviously, I mean, Travis is where he is right now. Now, that doesn't mean the parents can't come back if they want to change it. In fact, if they agree, the Travis County Law Library can help them for free to do that if they agree. Here's the situation, folks. You're both really exceptional parents. Mr. Aceves, you've given your son some amazing opportunities. Ms. Naranjo, I can't imagine a more loving mother that takes the son to Disney, makes sure to include husband and new wife. My hat's off to you. I'm very, very impressed by you. I do think that you've done an amazing job, and I hope you consider that you can still stay on that track. Your loving and forgiving heart has made this case so much easier. Okay. What I would like to see going forward, I know this hearing itself has been very, very painful. I am not going to order any kind of parenting classes because I think you all can get there again. But it's going to take a break. Y'all are going to have to take a little bit of a breath here and realize where we are. I do think that Mr. Aceves, you've done a remarkable job providing extraordinary opportunities for your son, opportunities that any child, regardless of where they live, would be thrilled to have. My hat's off for you for doing that. You're obviously a very loving and caring father, and you only want the best for your son. And I can see that he's going to have those tremendous opportunities. I do think that Austin and San Antonio, for those of us who live in this area, they pull at each other. They just pull at each other. They just do. Those of us who know, we know what that means. And sometimes it seems the opportunities kind of go this way down I-35 and not so much to San Antonio, and that can be very hard. So, folks, that's my ruling today. But again, Ms. Naranjo, that had nothing to do with your abilities as a mother, which I find to be extraordinary. And I hope you continue in that vein. Okay. All right, Ms. Sanchez, are you ready to draft that order?
Yes.
Okay. You do need any other clarification from me?
No.
All right. All right, folks. Very good. Well, I'm going to let you all go for the weekend. I know both of you all need a break and to take a deep breath after this. We have had many children in my courtroom this week, but none that I've seen loved as much as your son by both of his parents. And I'm grateful to both of you for that. Okay. All right. If there's nothing else, you all may be excused and have a nice weekend. Okay.
Thank you.
Bye.